Any questions?
It's a very special day.
Yeah, today's a special day. I can't hear you though. I don't think it's working. Today's the disappearance of Haridas Thakur, Namacharya Haridas Thakur. So he's setting the example of chanting the holy names. He chanted for 300,000 names a day, something like 190, I'm going to say 192 rounds, but I'm not sure if it's 92, 96. But once after you chant 190, a couple more rounds doesn't really matter too much. That's many rounds every day. You know, lots of times you find someone that's chanting, you know, a lot of rounds, and if they're chanting properly, then they'll be getting, they'll be genuinely humble. But some other times you might have somebody chanting and telling you how much they're chanting, you know, and not very humble about it. So anyway, let's just chant Jayarada Madhava first, then we're going to say something about Namacharya Haridas Thakur. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Go Premanandi. You want to sing it in?
I'd like to bring it to everyone's attention that there is a picture of someone's deity of Haridas Thakur on the altar today.
You might need some binoculars
Yeah.
to see it. Oh, this is chapter 11 of Antya Lila. It's the passing of Haridas Thakur. But we're not going to read one verse, we're just going to read a lot. Okay.
There's not a lot known about the life of Haridas Thakur. What we know we get from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, there's a couple other books. But we do know that Haridas Thakur appeared about 30 to 35 years before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he accepted initiation from Advaita Acharya.
You know, Chatur Manya Maya Shrestha Guna Karma Vibhagasaha. 4 divisions of human society were created by Krishna according to one's guna, qualities, and work. Guna karma. I mean, karma is work. So according to your qualities and work, you are Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, or Shudra, not according to Janma, birth. And the verse doesn't say Janma, it says the qualities and work. So Haridas Thakur, even though born in a low family, a meat-eating family, he became the Namacharya, the Acharya of the holy name, because he just chanted Hare Krishna. So we'll read a little bit.
One thing Sanatana Goswami did say to Haridas Thakur about him being Namacharya is that some are able to speak or preach, and then some are able to show by example. And Haridas Thakur did both. He joined forces with Nityananda Prabhu and went door to door preaching the glories of the holy name. And he himself set an example of chanting some quota of holy name every day. So he did both. And Sanatana Goswami said that one who does both is actually qualified to become the spiritual master of the world.
That was nice. I guess you can shut off the phones if you haven't done it already. Yeah, it's interesting how some people, they may follow really strictly, but they don't preach. And others may preach, but don't follow really strictly. And Haridas Thakur did both. He followed very strictly, and he preached very much. And it's amazing, how would you have time to preach, chanting 190 rounds a day? How do you have time to eat? How do you have time to do anything if that's what you're doing? But somehow or other, he did it. We'll start out with just reading the first verse. I'll read the Bengali. Namami Haridas. Oh, maybe this is Sanskrit.
No.
Namami Haridasam Tam Chaitanyam Tam Chatat Prabhum.
Yeah, so it is.
It is Sanskrit.
Yeah.
Right. Samstitam apiyan murtim svanke kritva nartaya. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto Haridas Thakur and his master. Who do you think his master is? Chaitanya? Oh, let me see. His master, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You get 2 points. Who danced with the body of Haridas Thakur in his lap. After Haridas Thakur left his body, Lord Chaitanya took his body and danced with his body. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is very merciful and who is very dear to Advaita Acharya and Lord Nityananda. All glories to the master of Srinivas Thakur. All glories to the master of Haridas Thakur. All glories to the dear master of Gadadhar Pandit. All glories to the master of the life of Swarup Damodar. All glories to Lord Sri Chaitanya, who is very dear to Kashi Mishra. He is the Lord of the life of Jagadananda and the Lord of Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami. All glories to the transcendental form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. My dear Lord, kindly give me shelter at your lotus feet by your causeless mercy. All glories to Lord Nityananda, who is the life and soul of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. My dear Lord, kindly give me engagement in devotional service at your lotus feet. Interesting, give me engagement at devotional service when we're chanting japa. Prabhupada says, we're saying, oh my Lord, oh energy of my Lord, especially you, Srimati Radharani, please engage me in service. And then someone asks, can you do something? And no, I don't have time. I got to finish my rounds, so I got to do this. You're asking, please let me serve you. Please let me serve you. I have some service here. No, I don't have time. Please let me serve you. Please let me serve you. If you have any comments, Jiva, just. All glories to Advaita Acharya, who is treated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as superior due to two things. What? You know, you got the verse up there? No? Good. Because then it's pretty easy to answer those questions. Due to what?
Someone said one.
What?
Someone said one.
Age. Age is right. And respectability. Please give me engagement in devotional service at your lotus feet. All glories to all the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, for the Lord is their life and soul. All of you kindly bestow devotional service upon me. All glories to Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, and Gopal Bhatta Goswami, the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. They are all my masters. I am writing this narration of the pastimes and attributes of the Lord by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his associates. I do not know how to write properly, but I am purifying myself by writing this description. Prabhupada said that devotees should write for their own purification. And everybody should write something. And if you do it every day, it's really good. And it's just for your own purification.
What's nice is when you write down your realizations and then you come back like years later, wow, where did that come from? You know?
Or you come back years later, as I did once, and thought, what the heck was I thinking? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thus resided at Jagannath Puri with his personal devotees and enjoyed the congregational chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. In the daytime, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu engaged in dancing and chanting and in seeing the temple of Lord Jagannath. At night, in the company of his most confidential devotees, such as, want to guess? Say it aloud. Yes. Swarup Damodar Goswami and one other person listed here. No. Oh, he knows because he's reading it.
Yeah.
That's why he knows everything. Okay, one more. Come on. Should guess. Who's very confidential devotee who knows the intimate Leela?
Think of Radhakrishna's Sakis, and then think of Chaitanya Leela.
I won't get it.
You got Swarup Damodar, And who's the other one? Huh? No, not listed here.
You just keep saying things, eventually you'll get it.
End of the class.
So Rup Damodar is Lalita, right?
Yeah.
Do you know who Vishaka is? Anybody?
Ramananda Rai.
Ramananda Rai, very good. Good hints, Jiva.
Giving it away.
So at night, in the company of his most confidential devotees, such as Ramananda Roy and Swarup Damodar Goswami, he tasted the nectar of the transcendental mellows of Lord Sri Krishna's pastimes. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very happily passed his days in this way at Nilachala, Jagannath Puri. Feeling separation from Krishna, he exhibited many transcendental symptoms all over his body. Day after day, the symptoms increased, and at night, they increased even more. All these symptoms, such as transcendental anxiety. Sometimes we are in anxiety, for Krishna. That's an example of a symptom, transcendental symptom. Of love for Krishna. I mean, sometimes we're in anxiety for some mundane reason too. That's not transcendental anxiety. So such as transcendental anxiety, agitation, and talking like a madman. Sometimes we might were present, just as they are described in the Shastras. Swarup Damodar Goswami and Ramananda Roy, the chief assistants of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, remained with him both day and night. One day Govinda, the personal servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, went in great jubilation to deliver the remnants of Lord Jagannath's food to Haridas Thakur. When Govinda came to Haridas, he saw that Haridas Thakur was lying on his back and chanting his rounds very slowly. So Lord Chaitanya would send Govinda, his personal servant, to bring Jagannath Prasadam to Haridas Thakur every day. Please rise and take your Mahaprasad, Govinda said. Haridas Thakur replied, today I shall observe fasting. I have not finished chanting my regular number of rounds. How then can I eat? But you have brought Mahaprasad, and how can I neglect it? Saying this, he offered prayers to the Mahaprasad, took a little portion and ate it. There is a purport, first purport. Mahaprasad is non-different from Krishna. Therefore, instead of eating Mahaprasad, one should honor it. It is said here, so anyway, we should honor Prasad. It is said here, Karila Vandana. He offered prayers. When taking Mahaprasadam, one should not consider the food ordinary preparations. Prasad means favor. One should consider Mahaprasadam a favor of Krishna. As stated by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Krishna is very kind. In this material world, we are all very much attached to tasting various types of food. Therefore, Krishna eats many nice varieties of food and offers the food back to the devotees, so that not only are one's demands for various tastes satisfied, but by eating prasadam one makes advancement in spiritual life. Therefore, we should never consider ordinary food on an equal level with Mahaprasad. The next day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Haridas's place and inquired from him, Haridas, are you well? Haridas offered obeisances to the Lord and replied, my body is all right, but my mind and intelligence are not well. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu further inquired from Haridas, can you ascertain what your disease is? Haridas Thakur replied, "My disease is that I cannot complete my rounds." Purport. If one cannot complete the fixed number of rounds he is assigned, he should be considered to be in a diseased condition of spiritual life. Srila Haridas Thakur is called Namacharya. Of course, we cannot imitate Haridas Thakur, but everyone must chant the prescribed number of rounds. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we have fixed 16 rounds as the minimum, so that the Westerners will not feel burdened. And the Indians feel burdened with 16 rounds. These 16 rounds must be chanted and chanted loudly, so that one can hear himself and others. You want to say anything about chanting rounds?
Well, Haridas Thakur talks about chanting loudly so that not just that oneself benefits, so it's another act of selflessness. You know? He's not just thinking of himself, what benefit he can gain, Haridas Thakur, but he'd like to chant loudly so that everyone around him will benefit, because he understands, he really realizes the benefits and what the holy names can do for one.
Put this over your ears, that goes down. Yes. That's it. Yeah. Haribol. So, if you don't complete your rounds, you're considered in a disease condition. Now, this disease, I mean, sometimes when people are diseased, it's catchy. So you don't want to associate with those people who are diseased. But in spiritual life, we have to, Prabhupada says we should, not just devotees, of course, but even the karmis, that because if you associate with karmis, it's very detrimental to your spiritual life. He said we should give them our association, but don't take their association. So as long as you stay fixed like that, I don't think you're going to find too many devotees that are that aren't chanting all the 16 rounds, that are going to try to convince you why you shouldn't chant. Usually they know that they're fallen and they're trying, so you give them your association to try to encourage them to chant more. Now that you have become old, the Lord said, you may reduce the number of rounds you chant daily. You are already liberated, and therefore you need not follow the regulated principles very strictly. I'm just thinking about, now you become old, okay? He's not just old, he's dying. Like, it seems like in a day or two, he's dead. So it's like 2 days before he died, he didn't have to finish his rounds. How many people have seen Gunagrahi Maharaj on video? You did? You did? Okay. He was leaving his body, he was dying of cancer. If you looked at him, he looked kind of like a skeleton. I mean, I seriously doubted whether he was chanting his 16 rounds at that time. But he was fully Krishna conscious, he was hearing the chanting constantly. You know, there's only so much you can do, he physically can't do things. So, when you're going to die, a couple of days before you die, it's okay if you can't finish your rounds. And you're not considered in a diseased condition. Your physical body is in a diseased condition, but spiritually you're okay. Unless one has come to the platform of spontaneous love of God, he must follow the regulated principles. Thakur Haridas was the living example of how to follow the regulated principles. Similarly, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami was also such a living example. It is said the Goswamis, especially Raghunath Das Goswami, strictly followed all the regulated principles. The first regulated principle is that one, what's the first regulated principle? Anybody raise your hand, so I call on you. Okay, don't have to raise your hand. just says one thing and just says so many. I gotta get it right one of these times. Okay. What?
Well, that's right.
I know. But I didn't call him a second time. I called him one.
Nobody else is saying it.
Yeah. I was gonna read it, that he might be right. The first regulative principle is that one must chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra loudly and enough. What's happening with this thing? And enough so that he can hear himself, and one must vow to chant a fixed number of rounds. Not only was Raghunath Das Goswami chanting a fixed number of rounds, but he had also taken a vow to bow down many times and offer obeisances to the Lord. Next verse. Your role in this incarnation is to deliver the people in general. You have sufficiently preached the glories of the holy name in this world. Purport. Haridas Thakur is known as Namacharya because it is he who preached the glories of chanting Harinam, the holy name of God. By using the words Tomara Avatara, your incarnation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirms that Haridas Thakur is the incarnation of who? Guess. Raise your hand. What? Brahma. Anybody else have anybody else? Okay, let's find out if you're correct. If you can get the microphone working properly. Okay. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirms that Haridas Thakur is the incarnation of Lord Brahma. Kind of went off when I said Brahma. Why is it going on and off? I can use a different mic, the other mic, if you want. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that advanced devotees help the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his mission, and that such devotees or personal associates incarnate by the will of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord incarnates by his own will, and by his will, competent devotees also incarnate to help him in his mission. Haridas Thakur is thus the incarnation of Lord Brahma, and other devotees are likewise incarnations who help in the prosecution of the Lord's mission. Try that. I don't know if it's on. It doesn't sound like it. Come on, just leave this. I gotta put it up to my mouth. I can't see. I shut this one off. Testing, testing. You could say something while I'm trying.
Well, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, after visiting Haridas Thakur's Samadhi, he coined, he reasons ill who tell that Vaishnavas die when thou art living still in sound. Vaishnavas die to live, and living spread the holy name around. And that's what he just said there, that they would assist the Lord in spreading the glories of the holy name.
The Lord concluded, now, therefore, please reduce the fixed number of times you chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Haridas Thakur replied, kindly hear my real plea. I was born in an inferior family, and my body is most abominable. I always engage in low work. Therefore I am the lowest, most condemned of men. I am unseeable and untouchable, but you have accepted me as your servant. This means that you have delivered me from a hellish condition and raised me to the Vaikuntha platform. My dear Lord, you are the fully independent personality of Godhead. You act by your own free will. You cause the whole world to dance and act as you like. My dear Lord, by your mercy, you have made me dance in many ways. For example, I was offered the Shraddha Patra, which should have been offered to first-class brahmanas. I ate from it, even though I was born in a family of meat-eaters. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in his Anubhasya quotes from the Vishnu Smriti in reference to the Shraddha Patra. This Sanskrit, I'll read English. According to this verse, if one is born in a Brahmana family but does not behave according to Brahminical standards, he should not be offered the Shraddha Patra. You will bring to a close your pastimes within this material world. I wish that you not show me this closing chapter of your pastimes. Before that time comes, kindly let my body fall down in your presence. I wish to catch your lotus-like feet upon my heart and see your moon-like face. With my tongue I shall chant your holy name, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. That is my desire. Kindly let me give up my body in this way. O most merciful Lord, if by your mercy it is possible, kindly grant my desire. Let this low-born body fall down before you. You can make possible this perfection of all my desires. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, my dear Haridas, Krishna is so merciful that he must execute whatever you want. But whatever happiness is mine is all due to your association. It is not fitting for you to go away and leave me behind. Catching the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Haridas Thakur said, my Lord, do not create an illusion. Although I am so fallen, you must certainly show me this mercy. My Lord, there are many respectable personalities, millions of devotees who are fit to sit on my head. They are all helpful in your pastimes. My Lord, if an insignificant insect like me dies, what is the loss? If an ant dies, where is the loss to the material world? My Lord, you are always affectionate to your devotees. I am just an imitation devotee, but nevertheless, I wish that you fulfill my desire. That is my expectation. Just this word, he says, I'm an imitation devotee. Once they were talking to, Srila Prabhu was talking, and mentioned, somehow, talking about Bhakti Siddhanta, or the devotees were talking about Bhakti Siddhanta. And Prabhupada said, no, he is genuine. I'm just an imitation, Prabhupada said. Because he had to perform his noon duty, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got up to leave. But it was settled that the following day, after he saw Lord Jagannath, he would return to visit Haridas Thakur. After embracing him, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left to perform his noon duties and went to the sea to take his bath. The next morning, after visiting the Jagannath temple, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, accompanied by all his devotees, went hastily to see Haridas Thakur. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the devotees came before Haridas Thakur, who offered his respects to the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all the Vaishnavas. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inquired, my dear Haridas, what is the news? Haridas Thakur replied, my Lord, whatever mercy you can bestow upon me. Upon hearing this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately began great congregational chanting in the courtyard. I'm going to skip this devotee's name and see if you can fill it in. It mentions who was the chief dancer. So who was the chief dancer? Who? I can't hear you. Radharani. Where was Radharani? We're talking about Chaitanya Lila here. Every item. In this way, varieties of prasadam were collected and packed up in different loads and carried on the heads of the 4 servants. Not only did Swarup Damodar Goswami bring prasadam, but Vaninath Patanayaka and Kashi Mishra also sent large quantities. I mean, just see, this is all happening spontaneously. They just, Haridas Thakur left his body and they just did all these things spontaneously. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made all the devotees sit in rows and personally began to distribute the prasad assisted by 4 other men. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not accustomed to taking prasad in small quantities. He therefore put on each plate what at least 5 men could eat. So, if you're not accustomed to taking small quantities of prasadam, you can say you're following the example of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not accustomed to taking prasadam in small quantities. He therefore put on each plate what at least 5 men could eat. Swarup Damodar Goswami requested Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, please sit down and watch. With these men to help me, I shall distribute the prasad. The 4 men, Swarup Damodar, Jagannananda, Kashisvara, and Shankara, distributed the prasadam continuously. All the devotees who sat down would not eat the prasadam as long as the Lord had not eaten. On that day, however, Kashi Mishra had extended an invitation to the Lord. Therefore, Kashi Mishra personally went there and delivered prasadam to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with great attention and made him eat. With Paramananda Puri and Brahmananda Bharati, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat down and accepted the prasadam. When he began to eat, so did all the Vaishnavas. I mean, this is the etiquette where they, like with Srila Prabhupada, we've been taking prasadam. If he doesn't eat anything yet, nobody eats. Then when he takes, then everybody would take. Everyone was filled up to the neck because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kept telling the distributors, give them more, give them more. After all the devotees finished accepting prasadam and had washed their hands and mouths, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decorated each of them with a flower garland and sandalwood pulp. Overwhelmed with ecstatic love, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered a benediction to all the devotees, which all the devotees heard with great satisfaction. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave this benediction. Anyone who has seen the festival of Sri Haridas Thakur's passing away, anyone who has chanted and danced here, anyone who has offered sand on the body of Haridas Thakur, and anyone who has joined this festival to partake of the prasadam will achieve the favor of Krishna very soon. There is such wonderful power in seeing Haridas Thakur. Being merciful upon me, Krishna gave me the association of Haridas Thakur. Being independent in his desires, he has now broken that association. When Haridas Thakur wanted to leave this material world, it was not within my power to detain him. Simply by his will, Haridas Thakur could give up his life and go away, exactly like Bhishma, who previously died simply by his own desire, as we have heard from Shastra. Haridas Thakur was the crown jewel of the head of this world. Without him, this world is now bereft of its valuable jewel. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then told everyone, say, all glories to Haridas Thakur, and chant the holy name of Hari. Saying this, he personally began to dance. So what did he say? Yes, all glories. Actually, that's it. Say, all glories to Haridas Thakur. And then it said, and chant the holy name of Hari. Saying this, he personally began to dance. Everyone began to chant, all glories to Haridas Thakur, who revealed the importance of chanting the holy name of the Lord. I mean, if we think about this movement, it's the Hare Krishna movement. It's based on chanting, the most important thing. And you might say he's like he's the Namacharya, so he's like in one sense you could say the most important Acharya, because he's teaching us about the holy name. And of course, because we're following in that line, Srila Prabhupada is following in that line. When he came here, when he came on the Jaladuta, and he wrote this poem when he first arrived, he said, I don't have any, I'm Bhakti Vedanta, I don't have any knowledge, I don't have any devotion, but I have full faith in the holy name. And so Prabhupada was also following Haridas Thakur in that sense, that he's, I mean, we know it's humility that he says he doesn't have any knowledge, he doesn't have, what was the other? Devotion. But he has full faith in the holy name. But he felt very confident that he has full faith in the holy name. And just by chanting this holy name, anything can happen. People can change. And we've seen, and Prabhupada's seen, you may not see as much, like most Indian people live a pretty decent life, you know, so when they chant, it may not be as obvious, the changes that happen. But when you find people who are really in the modes of ignorance, and then they chant and they somehow get out of the mode of ignorance and nothing else can work. And Prabhupada had full faith, and he saw how, you know, these people have changed. They're just by this chanting of the holy names. So it's fairly important. Thereafter, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bade farewell to all the devotees, and he himself, with mixed feelings of happiness and distress, took rest. Thus I spoken about the victorious passing away of Haridas Thakur. Anyone who hears this narration will certainly fix his mind firmly in devotional service to Krishna. Any comments?
Haridas Thakur was like the personification of Lord Chaitanya's Trinadapi Sunichena verse. Trinadapi Sunichena Tulor Iva Sihishna Amanina Amanadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself Lord on the straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than the tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige. And one should be ready to offer all respects to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. And he chanted the holy name of the Lord constantly, as we see, 300,000 names. And he was more tolerant than a tree. He was beaten in 22 marketplaces. He was offered respects to all living entities. He actually had a mood he didn't have a mood of entitlement. Even though he is a great yogi, he was able to control what time he left his body. He could have, if he wanted, go into the Jagannath temple. I mean, Mahaprabhu could have arranged, but they didn't interfere with social custom. And he didn't have this, he was so humble, he didn't feel, I deserve it, it's my right, or, you know, he didn't try to barge, you know, change those. He was so humble. The meaning of humility in Bhagavad Gita, it's the first quality of knowledge it mentions in Bhagavad Gita chapter 13 is humility. And in the purport, Prabhupada says the definition of humility is something like not expecting.
I think it's sort of one who should honor or dishonor pertaining to the body is useless.
There's something before that, not expecting honor for oneself. It comes with the realization that you're not your body. It's the false ego which identifies with the body. And the false ego gives us this mood of entitlement. I am a Brahmin. I deserve respect. And he didn't have that. He was totally above that.
Yeah.
So humble. So he's the perfect example, even when we say our Prema Dwani prayers every day. We say Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur. It's good to remember Haridas.
In the qualities of knowledge, it's humility is the first quality. The next one is pridelessness, which is practically the same thing as humility. Pridelessness. So these are qualities of knowledge. I mean, that's how you can see when a devotee is really advanced, is by humility, how humble they are. And especially like if you're in a position where people worship you, or people, treat you like you're so superior, and then what could happen is if you get used to that and then you don't get treated that way, then you guys are committing offenses. So, so we have to try to be humble, follow that example. And by being humble, you can chant the holy names, constantly. From the incident of Haridas Thakur's passing away and the great care Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took in commemorating it, one can understand just how affectionate he, Lord Chaitanya, is toward his devotees. Although he is the topmost of all sannyasis, he fully satisfied the desire of Haridas Thakur. When Haridas Thakur was at the last stage of his life, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave him his company and allowed him to touch him. Thereafter, he took the body of Thakur Haridas on his lap and personally danced with it. Out of his causeless mercy, the Lord personally covered the body of Haridas Thakur with sand and personally begged alms from the shopkeepers. Then he conducted a great festival to celebrate the passing away of Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur was not only the topmost devotee of the Lord, but also a great and learned scholar. It was his great fortune that he passed away before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What? Okay, we've got there's just a couple of more verses. I don't know what this purport says, but I'm going to read it anyway because I know it's time, but we're going to read it anyway. Haridas Thakur is mentioned here as the most learned scholar, Parama Vidvan. Actually, the most important science to know is the science of getting out of the clutches of material existence. Anyone who knows the science must be considered the greatest learned person. Anyone who knows the temporary situation of this material world and is expert in achieving a permanent situation in the spiritual world, who knows that the Supreme Personality of God is beyond the jurisdiction of our experimental knowledge, is understood to be the most learned scholar. Haridas Thakur knew this science perfectly. Therefore, he is described in this connection as Parama Vidvan. He personally preached the importance of chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which is approved by the revealed scriptures, as stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. There are 9 different processes of devotional service to Krishna, the most important being Shravanam, Kirtanam, hearing and chanting. Haridas Thakur knew this science very well, and he can therefore be called technically Sava Shastraditi. Anyone who has learned the essence of all the Vedic scriptures is to be known as a first-class educated person with full knowledge of all Shastras. You can read the last few verses. My voice is going.
The life and characteristics of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are exactly like an ocean of nectar, one drop of which can please the mind and ear. Anyone who desires to cross over the ocean of nescience, please hear with great faith the life and characteristics of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnadas, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita on Lila, 11th chapter, describing the passing of Haridas Thakur.
Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Press the button to shut it off.